Hi, this is a video response to Scott iGetcha69's video on the proposed ban of electronic cigarette fluid, I believe, in the UK, i.e. fluid that contains nicotine, with the concern that because it contains nicotine it's therefore addictive, and the one thing that a society doesn't need is another form of drug to get you addicted to that particular drug. Now of course we've already got addiction on nicotine in the form of cigarettes, and the whole point of these devices here is to get you off cigarettes. The big issue for me on all of this, as an absolute devotee of vaping, is that what we're talking about here is an alternative to using cigarettes or tobacco. And of course the issue is that it's not just about the nicotine. The nicotine for me is a side issue. Obviously the concern is about addiction, that's my understanding, but what's going to kill you? It's the carcinogens, it's all the chemicals, it's the effects of secondary smoke on other people, and that's what's going to fill the hospitals. That's what's going to destroy your lungs and so on. And that to me is what really matters, and that's what the focus should be. Now I have no issue at all that there should be proper regulation of electronic cigarettes, not with just the nicotine fluid, but with the devices as well, to make sure that they are properly manufactured and that they are safe. You take a device like the screwdriver, for example, it has got a 1 amp battery in it. For it's a powerful device, electrically speaking. Hardly massively dangerous in my view, but all of these things do need to be properly controlled. I have no problem with the concept of proper regulation. I think proper regulation is to the benefit of us all. But when you start talking about banning things, stopping people from doing something, it needs to be properly thought through. And to be quite honest, I don't think this has been properly thought through at all, because the motivation for these devices is not to create a new addiction for people, but to get people off cigarettes. Now, a lot of people would say, well, we can't argue that these devices are proper nicotine replacement therapies like the official products that you'll find in chemists and supermarkets and so on, because they've not been marketed that way and they've not been officially proved that way. But the reality is that people that use these devices stop using tobacco and start inhaling water vapour. That's the bottom line with this. Now that water vapour may contain nicotine, but what it also doesn't contain is the harmful rubbish that you get in tobacco based products such as cigarettes and pipe tobacco and all the rest of it. So the difference between vaporising some fluid through one of these devices compared to an ordinary cigarette is just phenomenal. They are just worlds apart. I smoked for cigarettes for 30 years, and I can tell you now the effects of coming off a cigarette and going on to vaping these devices has changed things exponentially for me, without a doubt. Now I've tried patches, I've tried nicotine gum, I've tried these inhaler type things that they use, and for me they didn't work, and just about everybody I know who smokes have tried these devices, and they just these nicotine replacement therapy alternatives, and they don't work. But I started using originally a super electronic cigarette at work a while ago, quite a while ago now, and I work for a fairly large company with a lot of people in it, and I can think of half a dozen people now who are using electronic cigarettes after having seen me use mine, and they have either cut down significantly the amount of tobacco that they've used, or they have stopped using tobacco entirely in favour of these devices, and to them it's a revelation, something that they could never achieve on the standard replacement therapies. So what I would say to the authorities is, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There really is something in these. If as a society you want us to stop using tobacco, then do one of two things: either ban tobacco altogether, and we know that's not going to happen, or allow innovative companies and individuals who are designing these things to continue improving upon them and giving people a real alternative. The end result for most people, hopefully, will be that they stop using these devices altogether, and they remove their reliance upon nicotine and tobacco, or a nicotine-based electronic fluid altogether. And that has to be the ultimate aim, and I think you would find that most of the companies that manufacture and sell these devices would say the same thing. Certainly if you are not a cigarette smoker or a tobacco user, you don't want to touch these. These aren't for you. You don't want to start vaping. That would be ridiculous. But if you are a smoker, then this is a real alternative, and the number of people who say they feel so much better for it, they breathe better, they feel fitter, they sleep better, that, you know, is absolutely incredible, the number of people who think that way. The UK and other countries in the world, certainly their governments, their authorities, the people in power, have a duty to protect its citizens. Let's not forget this. This is what it's all about. They're not banning it for the sake of it. They want to protect their citizens. But all too often they try to do so with too little understanding of what they are dealing with. And I think that's the major issue here. There needs to be more understanding, there needs to be more research. By all means, get proper regulation in for something like this. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's ultimately sensible. There has been a lot of self-regulation amongst suppliers. I'm not going to name names here, but you know, there are some really responsible firms out there, and they have made sure that their devices are safe, that they are compliant on the way that they package their nicotine fluids, are quite clear that they'll only sell it to those aged 18 or over, make sure you keep this stuff away from children, and so on and so forth. And that is the responsible way forward. But as I say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This stuff genuinely helps people. It genuinely gets them off cigarettes. It makes them feel better. Hopefully they will come off vaping altogether. But even if they don't come off vaping altogether, my word, compared to smoking a cigarette, this stuff is just infinitely safer in my personal view. But let's get some proper research done. Let's get some proper analysis done. If you want to introduce regulation, by all means, let's introduce regulation that is well thought through, is balanced, and has a sensible application to it. But let's just not go screaming ahead and ban something for the sake of banning out of paranoia and ignorance. That is just stupid. We are pretty good in the UK at having a nanny state and expecting other people to do our thinking for us. Well, we shouldn't be expecting people to do our thinking for us. We think we should be responding properly. Go to Scott's video that this is responding to. He's got the links in there for the petition. But when you write out the petition, make sure it is sensibly thought through, logical descriptions of how you have benefited from these devices, that you've got off tobacco if you have, or even partially off tobacco, and that they are genuinely sensible. What you're doing here is vaping primarily water vapour. Ban these, you might as well ban clouds in the sky, in my view, at this point in time, unless the research is done properly. So there we go, that's my little soapbox rant. I hope it's given people a bit of insight, particularly those who don't know what electronic cigarettes are all about. Don't prejudge. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you again soon. Cheers.